thing that they do, it was my wife's idea, is we have these little bags that we, give to people. It has a bunch of, essentials in there, maybe to help them through the night or through the week or whatever it may be. And the point is not just to do something nice, but the point is to show them that they are to be a conduit of blessing. They receive, it's their job to pass out to others. We want them to see that they have an ability, like we talked about the arrows, to change the life of somebody else. Another issue that's very tough in our culture right now is sexuality. The lines have been blurred. When it comes to God's best for us, one man, one woman in the context of marriage for life, that's what he ordained for us. We need to be people who, although we may have had missteps at times, we need to be people that steer culture back to what he has for us. We need to be people that want to get in the driver's seat and pull it back. Don't allow yourself to be people of relativism. Don't allow yourself to be people who compromise. Even though it's not popular, speak into the culture that this is what we know is right, and although we all fall short, this is the standard that is set, and this is what we want to steer ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to. Another issue, religious freedom. I remember a couple years ago when Coach Kennedy up there at Bremerton High School, he was praying with his players, and he was fired. I remember when Jack Phillips had the whole uproar about the cake. Religious freedom is something that we hold dear and something that we have to continue to fight for. All these issues I mentioned, though, we don't get anywhere as believers, as families, as mothers, fathers, as conservatives, if we don't enter into the conversation, just like the verse in Micah said, with justice, with mercy, and with humility. Lastly, in March of 1865, about a month before he was assassinated, President Abraham Lincoln said he was trying to bring the country back together after a bloody, bloody civil war, a war that divided families, a war that divided the nation, and he was charged with the job of bringing the country together after such a huge split. And in the speech, he says, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with our nations. My challenge to you all is to be people who are willing to bind up the nation. Bind up your families. Bind up the issues that are dividing your family. Bind up the issues that are dividing your neighborhoods. Bind up the issues that are dividing your state, and be willing to step into these issues as a nation and be people who are wanting to bind things together. It will take sacrifice. It may be painful, but it will be very, very rewarding. Bridging this gap, I believe, starts at home first, which was my initial point when talking about families, that all these things out there that we want to be involved in are important, but they start at home. Learning how to have these conversations, learning how to do this work starts at home, and then it permeates out to the public square. My wife says this all the time. She says, Benjamin, it's not about you. Benjamin, it's not about you. She's been saying that to me for a while. I'm starting to think. Her point in saying that, though, is there are so many things that I feel aren't right that affect me. There's so many times when I want everything to be about how it helps my family, how it helps my desires. And she says, Benjamin, it's not always about you. What is God doing through you? How are you being obedient and allowing him to work through you? It may not turn out how you want it to be. It may not always be about what you want. It's not about you. It's about the greater good. But on the flip side, it is about you. Because if we don't do what we're called to do, our families, our neighborhoods, our country, our world will suffer because of it. Bind up the wounds. do what you've been called to do. Engage and be people who are willing to act with justice, with truth, with mercy, and to walk humbly before our God. Thank you.
America is built and based on liberties and freedoms. Liberty HealthShare brings that to healthcare. The liberty of choosing your own doctor, the liberty of choosing your own hospital. Liberty HealthShare makes healthcare affordable to millions of Americans. Ignite your liberty, starting at $199 for a single, $399 for a couple. No matter how big the family, only $529. That's $529 for the entire family. To learn how you can save, go to igniteyourliberty.com. Igniteyourliberty.com.
What happened to our morality? Good old-fashioned values. When kindness was a currency. When integrity was expected. Tell the truth and be honest. And people are loyal too.
Are you looking for these things in your health care? Choose your own doctor and hospital. Plans starting at $199 or, no matter how big the family, only $529. That's $529 for the entire family. Go to igniteyourliberty.com. That's igniteyourliberty.com.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Their 2020 platform sounds identical to policies already tried and now failing in the collapsed socialist state of Venezuela.
You know, it's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing.
I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, well, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Abolish ICE. It's a growing call from Democrats to get rid of the agency that arrests and removes illegal immigrants in the U.S.
I think we should get rid of ICE.
We need to probably think about starting from scratch.
Why is it good for us to pay for the health care bills of people who snuck in here against our law?
It's good for people who are in our country, who are contributing to this country's success.
Or did it also apply to, I don't know, gang members or vagrants? I think they were covered too, weren't they?
These hot-button issues like free college, free healthcare, once thought to be radical, appear to be the starting line in this Democratic primary.
The three core demands of the National Day of Action are free public college, a cancellation of student debt, and a $15 an hour minimum wage for people who work on the campus.
And how's that going to be paid?
Great question. I mean, you know, so...
Do you call yourself a radical?
Yeah, you know, if that's what radical means, call me a radical.
Nancy Pelosi, do you recognize her as the leader for the House Democrats?
Of course.
We, as you are aware, we are diligent.
I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. Yeah. So please, bring on the recession. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts people.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, you get out and you tell them they're not welcome.
When they go low, we kick them.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar under attack for anti-Semitic tweets.
Can you respond to that?
No, thank you.
You used the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that? I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing. I am not the expert.
They are the future face of the Democratic Party. They are not only anti-Israel, but often that anti-Zionism morphs into anti-Semitism.
Either the Klansman or the guy in blackface is right now the Democratic governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam.
Northam's nickname was a racial slur.
They called me Coon Man. I did participate in a dance contest in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I actually won the contest because I had learned how to do the moonwalk. Appropriate circumstances. My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
Tonight!
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts with a DNA test to prove her Native American ancestry.
Her DNA test claiming she's part Native American appears to be backfiring.
Tonight, the leaders of the Cherokee Nation are speaking out against Senator Elizabeth Warren's campaign video touting her Native American ancestry.
Have you considered dropping out of the race?
You're talking about zero carbon emissions, no use of fossil fuels within 12 years.
That is the goal. It's ambitious. And
How is that possible? You're talking about everybody having to drive an electric car?
Admitting in earlier drafts that, quote, we aren't sure that we'll be able to fully get rid of farting cows and airplanes that fast.
I really don't like their policy of taking away your car, of taking away your airplane flights, of let's hop a train. You're not allowed to own cows anymore. You know, there are a lot of problems.
It was stunning how quickly some Democrats jumped on this proposal.
We need to be bold. Oh, it's impractical. Oh, it's too expensive. Keeping track of Democrats who might be driving a hard left, and a lot of them happy to do so.
Socialism is apparently becoming mainstream.
America will never be a socialist country. Never. We're born free, we will live free, and we will die free. This has been a great movement. They try like hell. They cannot stand what we've done. But we're doing the right thing. And I will never, ever, ever let you down. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
Conservatives gathered at CPAC to take aim at what seems to be their new favorite boogeyman, socialism. Take a listen.
The moment America becomes a socialist country is the moment that America ceases to be America.
They want to take your pickup truck. They want to rebuild your home. They want to take away your hamburgers. This is what Stalin dreamt about.
Sebastian Gorka making the case there, the conservative bedrock of strength on the world stage, defense of truth, separation of powers. Those were harder to find at CPAC, or at least they weren't the main theme. Now, a man who may help us discover what the play is the man himself, CPAC chairman Matt Schlapp. Good to have you on the show, Matt. Been a while.
Great to be back with you, Chris.
Who's that yelling behind you? Oh, the CPAC is going on. Oh, great, great. We're getting some ambient sound as well. All right, so do me a favor. Let's do a little plus minus, Matt. Make the pitch to the audience about the socialism bent. Is this just hyperbole, or are you going to make a real case that that's where we're headed?
Well, quite honestly, I think it's a little shocking for some of us. I mean, the theme of our CPAC this year is what makes America great. The intent is to go back to some foundational principles of why America is exceptional. And out of nowhere, as a result of the 2018 election, there is a brand new stridency. Bernie is not standing alone. Elizabeth Warren is not standing alone. You actually have Democrats, elected Democrats, who are embracing socialism. It's a totally legitimate pushback after socialism has failed so extravagantly all over the globe, and most specifically right now in Venezuela. So I think the American people actually think the idea of embracing socialism is pretty controversial. And I think the Democrats are on a risky gambit. I'm worried about it because Democrats win a lot of elections, and I don't like the fact that they're going to run for the presidency, not from the center, how they usually win it. They're going to run it from the extreme left.
That's what you think. So what is the weakness of doing that? If you go all in and calling it socialism, aren't you vulnerable to somebody saying, well, if we just want to get more health care to more people, or we want to get tax cuts to more people, or jobs to more people in a lower income bracket, that's what they're calling socialism because you don't want to deal with the policies.
Yeah, so I mean, there's something enticing about telling people you're going to do things for free for them, but you have to figure out the costs. You have to figure out the cost of this Green New Deal, which seems extreme to me with some of the policy provisions, most of the policy provisions within it. And I think, look, this is the question. Chris, you asked the right question. Where are the American people on this? I would argue, after 8 years of Obama, many Americans liked President Obama. They liked many things about him. but they thought that his economic policies actually were created a soft economy and took away their economic prosperity and their ability to have rising wages and new economic opportunities. It's one of the reasons Donald Trump won. He was able to swipe away the votes of a lot of blue-collar voters, a lot of middle-class voters who wanted that opportunity. And by the way, since that election, the right track numbers in this country are much higher than they've been at any time in the Obama administration. And so you see real improvements. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on all these things, and it could be that America wants to embrace socialism, but I'll take that bet if you want to make it.
No, look, I get it. I think that the clever part of this is that you're just calling policies that are more popular, arguably, or play more to the middle class as socialist. I get it. That's politics, and they're going to have to counter your argument. But, you know, if you're talking about conservative bedrock policies, a return to those, as you said earlier, two, let's take a look at. One was fiscal conservatism. You didn't pay for this tax cut that Trump got through. It's going to hit the deficit. It already is. You see that the tax checks that people are getting back are not what we expected. It's still early in the season. But that was a conservative bedrock principle that was flouted by the president. You guys went along with it.
I'd love to respond to that. I actually think both parties deserve to be horsewhipped over their constant refrains that we're going to balance the budget.
Presidents in your party. When you guys controlled Congress, you passed it.
Chris, let me tell you, I'm not going to push back too aggressively on this. I think we have to do a lot better job of restraining spending. $22 trillion in debt, and those chickens are going to come home to roost. I think it's a mistake to say, after 8 years of Obama stagnation, that it wasn't the right thing to do to have steep tax cuts.
But it wasn't stagnation. You know that we pulled out of one of the deepest holes in our history in 2008 when he came up. You know, so when he got in there, he was in a deep hole. He got us out of that hole, and the economy grew and grew, and now it's continuing to grow.
I worked for President Bush, and it is fair to say at the end of his presidency, we had a housing collapse, and there's no question Obama inherited a rough economy. I will tell you that. The problem is new regulations and Obamacare and all this profligate federal overreach did not allow us to grow at a rate that made a difference for the middle class and for the poor. Look at the poverty statistics after this try with Obamonomics. People were made worse off. Why did people turn to Donald Trump? Some people say it was because he had all of this rhetoric. They actually turned to him because in America, on presidential elections, the pocketbook matters, and people felt a real pinch in their pocketbook.
Well, that's true, but that tax cut wound up being a little bit of a farce, so I just hope that you hold him to account for that. And then there's another bedrock principle.
No,
the tax cut was a farce because it didn't target the middle class and it wasn't paid for. That's a farcical notion of conservative fiscal economics.
But let's look at something that is clear, which is America had, on the corporate side, one of the highest income tax rates in the world. So but America
not
was
an effective
out of synchronization.
Not an effective rate.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true.
Oh, yeah, because of the loopholes and what they have actually paid, they were about in the middle of the pack. But there was no question that you could make improvements on it. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
Okay, and let me just make this one point, which is there's a reason why people feel better about their economic situation in this country, and there's a reason why we're growing at a more rapid rate, and there's a reason why we've added more manufacturing jobs.
You juiced the economy with a tax cut that you're going to have to pay for long term. And there's a reason why wages are... But all of those things are very positive, and they're actually helping Americans, and I'm glad that that's happening. And I think that if that continues to happen, actually, and if we restrain our profligate spending, I actually think we can do something about that debt and that deficit. And in all honesty, President Clinton was the last president to actually oversee a balanced budget. We'll see what happens. One other principle: truth, character. Yeah. That was the cudgel against Clinton.
Absolutely.
Mike Pence, who spoke at CPAC, wrote a very impressive essay about how you got to judge him as your neighbor. This president has made a mockery of political discourse, decency, and truth-telling, and you know it. But you guys don't jump up and down about
I don't know that.
You do know it.
I don't know that. And
you just lied about his third despot. His third despot he just gave comfort to. He just said Kim Jong-un was not responsible for Otto Warmbier. Matt.
That chapter that Mike Pence wrote was in a book that I edited. And it's a book about the 13 speeches that Ronald Reagan gave at CPAC, the group that I chair. And I think it's a big mistake to say that Donald Trump is somehow a dishonest political leader. He went around this country and said the 7, 8, 9 things that he intended to do.
He lies.
And he is a rare politician. Not true.
What?
Not true.
Matt,
I reject that.
Please. How can you reject it? It's as plain as the nose on my face.
Because Because what you are going to argue is that there are times when facts are wrong that come out of the president's mouth, that come out of the White House.
He said he didn't have anything to do with Jared's clearance, and he did. He said he had nothing to do with the hush money payments, and he did. He said 2 million people voted illegally, and they didn't. He lies all the time.
So we just came out of a congressional election, Chris. Are you still going to make the argument that there's not a huge voter fraud problem in this country?
Matt,
I heard you make
please.
that
He said
case
2
for years and
million
years.
people
After
voted illegally in California. He said he had nothing to do with the clearance.
Illegally?
Matt, look, this is what I don't get.
How many voted illegally in California? Don't call him a liar.
He's a liar.
Specifically telling me
he's a liar.
It's a big number in California.
Matt,
but
it's not anywhere near it, and you know it. There weren't people dancing on the buildings after 9/11. He lies all the time, and you know it. And this stuff with Otto Warmbier.
I don't know it.
When President Obama went to Cairo and said America's got to do better than it's done in the past.
Let me try to answer.
Well, but you're shirking the question. You're shirking the question and the reality, Matt. Listen. You guys were so tough on Obama for giving shelter to Muslims.
You're not going to let me talk.
Well, I want to set the table.
You're not going to let me talk.
I want to set the table. This is his third despot in a row. He said that he believes Putin about not being involved with interference. He believes
CPAC proved once again that organizing match is not afraid to stir up controversy, and it seems even I made an on-screen appearance at this year's conference. Oh, breaking news. Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians.
But that bit of so-called news wasn't exactly true.
I just hope my hair looked good. Did it look good?
Fabulous.
Show me the Democratic ad, the 30-second ad on Russian collusion. They didn't run it because you know what? The American people are over this. There is no case here. It's the Democrats who are going after Brett Kavanaugh because he'd be the fifth vote. There's a slur, there's a disgrace. It's all one after the other, perfectly timed. That is strange.
That's outrageous. First of all,
How outrageous is it?
It's really outrageous because of the coordinate.
They had a whip count on where different cabinet secretaries were on potentially removing the President of the United States from office. This is a disgusting abuse of power.
Let me agree with you. We could do it at the same volume. I think...
Am I talking too loud?
I know Matt likes to create a world that's sort of fictional. I'm not saying I'm a liar, Matt. I never called you a liar. You did. I did in the first segment. No, I did not. I said if you drank truth serum, you would actually admit what's a clever way of calling you a liar.
We're sitting here in privileged positions because we are white Americans. We know that we're and deny privilege all that you want.
I find that the silliest argument I've ever heard. You're suffering credibility because they feel like you have it against this president and against conservatives.
The president is driving them down.
No, Jim. You have to own it yourself. You have to own your own actions. Look at the poll for how the American people view the news media. You're at the cellar. So
It's on the rise. Their opinion of the news media is on the rise. Matt Schlapp, I'm going to have to leave it there.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you very much.
They act like they're better. They act like there's a truth teller.
Yeah.
And was he trying to get information or pass it back to the United States government? Was he doing those three things?
Hey, Matt.
Come on, let's do it both ways.
Do it. Hey, Matt, this is what blows my mind. Hold on, Matt, as you know, I ask the questions of you.
Call it out.
Sure.
Just say, look, this was over the line.
What I'm asking you is if
will you call it out?
Hey, Matt, I ask the questions here.
I'm going to play Matt to Matt. You should enjoy that. Here's something you said on Lou Dobbs we also wanted to press.
Do you watch Lou Dobbs? Take a look. Watch Lou Dobbs?
Watch it.
This is
Join me. Take a look.
This is good. I am a pro-immigration Republican. I do not support I don't support well, maybe you should meet my wife. They're trying.
I think that the point no, because I think that the large issue here is the fear-mongering. The fear-mongering. What? The fear-mongering.
There's no fear-mongering.
Yes, Matt.
Is there 4,000 people trying to come to our country illegally or not, Allison? Is that fear-mongering? Is that true?
I don't know.
You are not open to anything that you don't agree with. Why am I on your show? Because you are not here. I'm coming on your show because I believe in my heart that if we can't talk to each other, yes, I'm a conservative, but if we can't talk to each other on these platforms, our democracy is doomed. Hello, everyone. Guess what? Today's CPAC is the biggest and best we've ever seen. As you know, this is the largest hotel in our nation's capital, and we are packed to capacity with standing room only. Look around. We're so full, even our overflow rooms have overflow rooms. And we even opened up the wall in the back. Take a look behind and wave to everybody standing in the back of the room. And it's not just the back of the room. For the first time ever, we have added 3 CPAC satellite campuses because we can't get everyone in the largest hotel. We have one at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. At Colorado Christian University. And even in California at Pepperdine University. And we've told you about our new conservative unions in Japan and now in Australia. Over 25 million
watched us last year across the country and across the world. Folks, we are making a difference. And as we've walked around these halls the last couple of days, what have we learned? A lot. Despite all the media coverage of Republican splits and conservative crack-ups, this movement has never been so unified. And you, the activists, have never felt so vindicated. Like many of you, I have worked in Republican circles for decades. But like most conservatives, I always knew that I never truly belonged to their club. So I was one of those Americans who rooted for and appreciated this outsider. President Trump, like Ronald Reagan before him, has taken on the powerful, the established, the untouchable. And like Reagan, when he wants to recharge, he connects to his base here at CPAC. So we get asked, why do we support this president? Well, here's one. He doesn't think or act like a politician. He thinks like an entrepreneur, focusing on the big picture, on what we have to do now to get America back. You know what else? He's putting it all on the line. This president is working for free in a last-ditch attempt to get this country on the right path. Let's keep moving over the middle. And you know what else? He beats the left at their own game. National media believes the First Amendment was created predominantly for them. Well, President Trump believes the Constitution is about all of us, Americans. And he ran on a clear agenda that he is hell-bent on implementing no matter who opposes him. It's true, too, I'm traditional enough to judge a man by how he treats those we love. He's kept his word to me, which is especially true at this year's CPAC, even in the midst of nuclear diplomacy. Mr. President, we are happy that when you walked away, you walked here to be with us. And love, my wife loves working for you. And as for friends, well, we all watched him have the spine to stand by a good man, my friend, Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Please, welcome to the CPAC stage, our President, Donald Trump.
And the CPAC, I actually started quite a while ago in CPAC and came here, probably made my first real political speech, and I enjoyed it so much that I came back for a second one, then a third, then I said, what the hell, let's run for president. But it's wonderful to be back with so many great patriots, old friends, and brave, young conservatives. What a future you have. Our movement and our future in our country is unlimited. What we've done together has never been done in the history, maybe of beyond our country, maybe in the history of the world. They came from the mountains and the valleys and the cities. They came from all over. And what we did in 2016, the election we call it with a capital E, it's never been done before, and we're going to do it, I think, again in 2020. So you have 17 Republicans plus me. And I was probably more of a conservative than a Republican. People just didn't quite understand that. They didn't understand that. I think now with what we've done with the judiciary and so many other things, I think they get it very well. And it's driving the other side crazy. But we all have to endure, remember? How many times did you hear for months and months, there is no way to 270? You know what that means, right? There is no way to 270. They couldn't get me there. We might as well have just given up. But there wasn't any way to 270. In fact, I actually went up to Maine to get one, and I did win the one, but we didn't need one. We won Maine. We won our half of Maine. You have Nebraska. We won both of Nebraska. We won the half. We had to win in Maine. So we got the one, but we didn't need the one because we didn't get 270. We got 306 to 270. A state called Wisconsin, a state called Michigan, where, by the way, where Fiat Chrysler just announced a $4.5 billion incredible expansion and new plant, doubling their workforce. Many, many car companies have moved back to Michigan and are continuing to do so. Big numbers, nobody ever thought they'd see that happen. So I think we're going to do even better in 2020. I think we're going to do numbers that people haven't seen for a long time. Here today are on the front lines of protecting America's interests, defending America's value, and reclaiming our nation's priceless heritage. With your help, we are reversing decades of blunders and betrayals. These are serious, serious betrayals to our nation and to everything we stand for. It's been done by the failed ruling class that enriched foreign countries at our expense. It wasn't America first. In many cases, it was America last. Those days are over, long over. America is winning again. America is respected again. And the world knows it. When I meet with prime ministers, when I meet with presidents, and I get along with them, because they know that what's taken place over many years, not just the Obama administration, long before that, they can't believe themselves that they got away with it. They can't believe it. An impossible thing. And they like me. And the reason they like me, they tell me, they say, Mr. President, I said as an example, President Xi of China, I have great respect, we have a great relationship. I say, how is it possible that you got away with this for so long? And he said, because nobody ever asked us to change. When they charge 40% tariffs on our cars going into China, and we charge them nothing coming into our country, when they raise their tariff from 10% to 25% and then to 40%, and they said to me, we expected that somebody would call and say, you can't do that. Nobody called, so we just left it. And I don't blame them. We should have been doing the same thing to them, but we didn't. But now things are different. Now we're negotiating with China. They wouldn't negotiate with previous administrations. But I found some very old laws from when our country was rich, really rich. The old tariff laws, we had to dust them off. You could hardly see them. Unfortunately, they weren't terminated. We started getting politically correct even back then. But I said, when we were doing the great things, what happened to those laws? And I checked. And I found 301 and 382. I found one 1938 where we can do what we have to do. But you know, they had a debate it was really a rough time in our country because we had so much money we didn't know what the hell to do with it. It was called the Great Tariff Debate. Mark Levin will look this up. And the problem is, with Mark, if I make a little mistake, he'll let us know on Sunday night. You have to be very careful when I talk about this. The Great Tariff Debate of 1880. And the debate was, we didn't know what to do with all the money we were making. We were so rich. And McKinley, prior to being president, he was very strong on protecting our assets, protecting our country. And he made statements that others cannot come into our country and steal our wealth and steal our jobs and build their country and not defend our country. We can't do that. We can't ever allow that to happen.
country's in big trouble, folks, because we have to get it back. And when I look at what's happening on the other side, I encourage it. I say, no, I think the new Green Deal, or whatever the hell they call it, the Green New Deal, right? Green New Deal. I encourage it. I think it's really something that they should promote. They should work hard on. It's something our country needs. Desperately, they have to go out and get it. But I'll take the other side of that argument only because I'm mandated to. I'm mandated. But they should stay with that argument. Never change. No planes. No energy. When the wind stops blowing, that's the end of your electric. Let's Harold, is the wind blowing today? I'd like to watch television, Then in 1913, they ended tariffs. Okay? They ended tariffs. Somebody got stupid, and they ended tariffs. They said, oh, it's okay for other nations to come in. I won't use a certain word because it's not politically, but everybody knows the word I love to use. Should I use it? I won't do it. Our great First Lady always said, don't use certain words, please. I said, but the audience wanted me to do it. She said, don't do it. And the problem is, if I do that, they won't put the little preamble that we just went through. They'll just use the word and they'll say, isn't that terrible? So I've learned, because with the fake news, if you're sarcastic, if you're having fun with the audience, if you're on live television with millions of people and 25,000 people in an arena, and if you say something like, Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. But the thing that we've done is very special because on trade and because of tariffs, and I know there are people in the Republican Party and people really, even conservatives, good conservatives, they don't like tariffs. I'm not liking or not liking. The minimum, the greatest negotiating tool in the history of our country. Do you think China would be sending their top representatives over? Right now, China's paying 25% tariff on $50 billion worth of technology goods. I was then going to charge them 25% on $200 billion. Not like 200 million, that's a lot. This is 200 with a B billion. 200 billion. So, but I was nice because we're having a very strong negotiation. which, if it weren't for tariffs, and I tell this to President Xi, this is nothing to hide, I would never be talking like this, because in theory, it could hurt your negotiating position, but in my case, it can't, because it's true. I was nice, and I left it at 10% on $200 billion, and here's the beauty. We've lost so much money with China, $500 billion a year, and on trade is such a disaster. It's $507 billion a year. China, just one country. We lose with everybody, almost. But China's one country. $507 billion for many years. So the beauty is this. I have $250 billion more to put tariffs on. The numbers are staggering. Billions of dollars right now are pouring into our treasury. And for those of you that haven't done the research, if you look, of the 25%, our country, as it's turned out, because it's now been on there for a long while, and I'm in no rush, because I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Of the 25 points, we've paid for 4 points, and China's paid for 21 points. Okay, 21. That's what the numbers are. Very simple. You know, everyone said, oh, it's a tax on our... It's not really. And what China and other countries do sometimes is they will subsidize it. So the tax really is incredible. But what it is beyond everything else, I can negotiate. But then you have senators and a few congressmen, but not Mark Meadows. Where's the great Mark Meadows? Mark and Jim Jordan. And I want to name every one of those couple of hundred people, because we do have a lot. I want to name every damn one of them. They have been incredible. They've been fighting. And I just see Mark in the audience. They've been fighting with Deb, much more important. His wife is incredible. What an asset. He would be nowhere without her. But they fight so hard on this witch hunt, this phony deal that they put together, this phony thing that now looks like it's dying, so they don't have anything with Russia. There's no collusion. So now they go and morph into, let's inspect every deal he's ever done. We're going to go into his finances. We're going to check his deals. We're going to check. These people are sick. I saw a little shifty Schiff yesterday. It's the first time. He went into a meeting, and he said, we're going to look into his finance. I said, where did that come from? He always talked about Russia. Collusion with Russia. The collusion delusion. So now we're waiting for a report, and we'll find out whether or not, and who we're dealing with. We're waiting for a report by people that weren't elected. We had, think of this, we had the greatest election. In all fairness, I used to hear Andrew Jackson. This was now greater than the election of Andrew Jackson. People say it. No, people say it. I'm not saying it. This was the equivalent or greater. You know, they used to go to Ronald Reagan when I first started. This is Ronald Reagan. Then we started really doing well, and they were coming from everywhere to vote. Those red hats and white ones. The key isn't the color. The key is what it says. Make America great again. But we had the greatest of all time. Now we have people that lost. And unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there. And all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bullshit, okay? And neither did the person that appointed him. And as you know, the Attorney General says, I'm going to recuse myself. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? But the person that appointed Robert Mueller never received a vote. Robert Mueller put 13 of the angriest Democrats in the history of our country on the commission. Now, how do you do that? These are angry, angry people. You take a look at them. One of them was involved with the Hillary Clinton Foundation, running it. Another one has perhaps the worst reputation of any human being I've ever seen. All killers. In fact, it would have been actually better for them if they put half and half, and Mueller can do whatever he wants anyway, which he'll probably do. But we have conflicts. I had a nasty business transaction with Robert Mueller a number of years ago. I said, why isn't that mentioned? He wanted the job as FBI director. I mean, these are things that are out there, they know it. Why isn't that, and I didn't give it to him, why isn't that mentioned? Jim Comey, lying James Comey, is his best friend. James Comey is his best friend. And those are a few of the conflicts. Other than that, it's wonderful. So everybody's waiting. I thought of it this morning, Mark, and I heard you made an incredible speech and statement today, Mark Levin. I heard it. And I was on the way, but I'll see it later. I guarantee I'll be watching it later. I have one of the great inventions in history. It's called TiVo. I think it's actually better than television, because television is practically useless without TiVo. But I'll be watching it later, Mark. But people that got no votes, what I heard this morning, President Trump is waiting for the Mueller report. I said, wait a minute, let me get this straight. So the Attorney General recuses himself, and I don't fire him. No obstruction. That's the other thing. If you use your rights, you use your power. If you use Article 2, it's called obstruction. But only for Trump, for nobody else. So the Attorney General is weak and ineffective, and he doesn't do what he should have done. Somebody that never got a vote writes a powerful letter, horrible, about Cohen. Every single Democrat said Comey should be fired, or worse if possible. Every Republican said everybody, in fact, when I fired Comey, I said, you know, First Lady, I said, Melania, I'm doing something today. I'm doing it because it really has to be done. He's bad. He's a bad guy. That's been proven now with all of the emails and the text. I'm doing something that has to be done. But you know the good news? It's going to be bipartisan. It's going to be so popular. It's going to be bipartisan. Every Democrat hates him. Every Republican hates him. He did a horrible job at the FBI. Speak to the real agents, the real people, because the people in the FBI are incredible people, not the sleaze on top. I said, but you know the good news? The good news is that this is going to be so bipartisan, everyone's going to love it. So we fire Cohen, and Schumer, who called for his resignation many times, Podesta, I believe that day, because he still hasn't gotten over getting his ass kicked, okay? I believe that day called for his resignation. That day, Podesta, the great genius of campaigns. He called for the Comey resignation. Others, almost every, I would say, Mark, would you say virtually every Democrat, virtually every, I can't think of anybody that said he's doing a good job. So I said to Melania, the good news is this will be a popular thing. And I fire a bad cop, I fire a dirty cop, and all of a sudden the Democrats say, how dare he fire him? How dare he do this? And that's where we are, folks. That's where we are. We're in the swamp of Washington, D.C. But you know what? We're winning, and they're not. We're winning. So just to finish, I'll tell you, Max Lab is loving this. He's saying this is a lot more than we paid for. You know, normally you read a few pages and you say, bye, folks. But you know what I like about this? Number one, I'm in love, and you're in love. We're all in love together. We've done something that nobody's done. You know, a great friend of mine from New York, he's a stone-cold killer. He's a brutal man. He's actually not even a good friend of mine because he'd turn on me in 2 seconds. But he's a very rich guy. And he said, what are you going to speak about today? Like, what are you going to speak? I said, I don't know. He said, I just heard that you have the biggest crowd in the history of CPAC. They're all over. By the way, not only this giant room, they're in many hotel rooms all over the place. You're just better at real estate than they are. But this guy, you all know his name, very rich guy, and he has a problem with a thing called public speaking. If he has to speak to more than like 5 people, he chokes. He can't breathe, you know. Oh, are you okay? He kills people for a living, meaning mentally and financially. But if there's like an audience of 9, it's like... So he said to me, how the hell do you do that? And I said, it's easy. And the reason it's easy, I really mean this. There's so much love in this room. It's easy to talk. You can talk your heart out. There's love in this room. You can talk your heart out. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. And we've had that from the day I came down with your First Lady on the escalator in Trump Tower. It's been easy. And you know what? We never had an empty seat. We went out and helped Ted Cruz. We went out and helped so many people. And I'll tell you what. If we didn't do those 32 rallies, and it wasn't easy, when you're doing rallies with 25, 30,000 people, in Texas, we had 109,000 people sign up. We used the Houston Rockets Arena. It holds 22,000. Tens of thousands were outside. We were sending notices, please don't come. That's a little different. Usually people are begging, well, yeah, like, can somebody come? We never had an empty seat. Of course, the Washington Post, a guy named David Weigel, he wrote an article. Some arena, no, listen to this. He wrote an article. He got there 4 hours early. He took pictures of an empty arena. He then put out a note, something to the effect, not very good crowd size, Mr. President. And I never saw it, because I don't follow the guy. But thousands of people that were in that arena that was packed with 25,000 people outside that couldn't get in. He got there 4 or 5 hours early because he doesn't fly private, you know. And maybe it's because of the carbon footprint. You think maybe it must be the carbon footprint. He just doesn't want private. But he got there hours early. And, you know, the place hadn't started taking in people. They weren't going to take them in. So there were virtually nobody. And, you know, whatever it was, 18,000, when you have nobody, it's a little scary looking. So he took pictures. And you know who really got even? Our people. Because they were incensed. We had people sitting on the stairwells. We had people sitting in every seat. I don't think we've had an empty seat since we announced. And from the day we came down the escalator, I really don't believe we've had an empty seat at any arena, at any stadium. It's been an incredible thing, and that's why I say this has never, ever happened before, and now we have to verify it in 2020 with an even bigger victory. The great Sarah Huckabee and Mercedes, who is incredible, sitting there. Mercedes, thank you. They always say, you know, they're good people, right? Much better than I am. They always say, don't bring it up, don't fight. Don't fight. Everyone understands. I said, they don't understand. If I don't explain it, how are they going to understand? So remember the empty arena one, right? And then it was shown, and the Washington Post had to do, and this particular writer had to do I thought he was going to get fired. I mean, if that were a conservative, he would have been fired on the spot. He would have been humiliated for what he did because it was fake news. Nobody was in the arena. There were thousands outside, but they hadn't opened the gates yet. They did the same thing at our big inauguration speech. You take a look at those crowds. And I watched one of the evening shows that are ridiculous, how horrible they are, how mean, how horrible. And I watched it by mistake. And they showed from the White House all the way down. They showed from the there were people, nobody's ever seen it. The Capitol down to the Washington Monument. People, but I saw pictures that there were no people. Those pictures were taken hours before, right? And they always mention crowd size. He talks about crowd size. So I'm constantly bugging Mercedes whenever we have a slow moment. I say, Mercedes and Sarah, show them the pictures. Show them and compare them with what they put on television. Those pictures were taken hours before. And remember this also, not that Obama would ever do this, but we had fencing all the way down to the Washington Monument, and it was raining, and it was wet, and the grass was wet. And women and men, and I consider them totally equal, so I'm not going to say it's hard. In fact, it's probably, with the men I know, it's actually easier for the women to make the walk, right? But they had to walk all the way down. They had to walk with high heels in many cases. They had to walk all the way down to the Washington Monument and then back. And I looked and I made a speech and I said before I got on, I said to the people that were sitting next to me, I've never seen anything like this. Look at that crowd. And it was wide. Wide. We had a crowd, I've never seen anything like it. And I have to live with crowd size. It's all a phony deal, folks. But I saw a picture just the other night of practically no people. It was taken hours before our great day. That was a great day for us. That was a great, great day. People came from all over. People came from all over. So Sarah said, and Mercedes said, sir, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. I said, but I care. And people care. People care. So what I'm going to do is I'll give it to the great one. I'll give it to Mark Levin. And I'll give him the picture. And then I'll show you where they showed just the other day an empty field, like nobody on it. And you'll see the sun, you know, you can see it's very dark because the sun's like starting to rise. And you can have some fun. You're going to get big ratings in your show, I'll tell you that. Sunday night, everybody. Sunday night. 10 o'clock, right? Sunday night at 10 o'clock. Thank you. I knew that actually, but thank you. All right, now let's get back into what I'm here for. And don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep, right? Don't fall asleep. You know, somebody said, oh, the speech you made, sir, the State of the Union speech was incredible. course, by the following morning, they had to change because the head people called them, "What are you doing?" A lot of it's not the people on television. A lot of it's their bosses. Which someday we're going to have to figure out why matters, why that is. Because, you know, if you're building a great country, you have the best employment and unemployment numbers we've ever had. More people are working today in the United States than ever before in the history of our country. And you say, why are they upset by that? Why are they upset? We've slashed 30,000 pages of job-killing regulations from the Federal Register. That's an all-time record in the history of the United States, even by presidents that are there for 8 years and in one case more. We passed the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. And we got rid of the individual mandate, which is a big deal, which should lead to the ending of the disaster known as Obamacare. The great state of Texas has a case, and it was literally based on the individual mandate. Now that it's gone, I don't know how they rule against it. Now we'll have to find out. But that'll soon be up in the Supreme Court of the United States, I hope. And we're going to see what happens. And then we're going to get together with the Democrats and come up with really great health care. Okay? Really great health care. And one of the other things we did in our tax package is ANWR, perhaps the largest field in the world, oil and gas. I got it approved. And I didn't want to get it approved for a certain reason, because I thought somebody treated me very badly. Very badly. Don't get that vote very often. And I said, you know, I don't want it. Then I get a call from a friend of mine. And he's in the oil business. He's not asking for anything, but he really is a knowledgeable guy when it comes to oil and gas. He said to me, hey, and they all call me Mr. President. I have friends that for 35 years, hey, Don, how you doing? Hey, Donnie, I love you, Donnie. For 35 years, now they call Mr. President, sir. How are you? I have a friend, very rich guy, Richard Lefrak in New York, builder, good builder. He calls me all my life. Hey, Don, how you doing? I've known this guy so long. From kindergarten. It's true. Hi, Don, how you doing? How's everything? And now, I get a call the other day. Mr. President, how are you, sir? How are you? I said, Richard, lighten up. Call me Donald. Richard, call me Donald. You've known me for, I don't want to say because I don't want my wife to hear the number. It's true. Actually, that's actually true. Richard came up. He said, I've known your husband for 65 years. I said, don't say it. I say 20, 25, 30. Don't say 65 years. But I said, Richard, call me Donald like you always do. Call me Don. Okay, Don. Okay. He gets his breath. 2 minutes later, Mr. President. But maybe that's a good thing. That's called respect for the office. Right? Maybe that's many. And that wasn't in the script either, Mark. But we're renegotiating right now horrible trade deals that we're cracking down, and we are really doing a number, cracking down on countries that cheat and standing up for the American worker for the first time in many, many decades. Many decades. Our workers have been treated horribly. A country announces they're closing their plant in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Ohio. They're closing. They're closing a plant. They're going to move to Mexico. They're going to move to China. They're going to move someplace else. They fire all their workers. And then they sell their cars. No tax. Just make them in Mexico, sell them back to here. No tax, no nothing. Those days are all gone, folks. They're all gone. And in the new deal with Mexico and Canada called the USMCA, it's very, very hard, prohibitively hard, for a company to fire its 4,000 workers and move to Mexico or some other location. It's now a very costly. They can do it, I guess, if they want, but it's costly. It's painful. It used to be almost, I've been talking about this for a long time. I used to say it's almost like we're giving them an incentive to leave our country. Again, I'm for America first. That wasn't for America first. And we have great companies that are now moving back to our country. They're coming back in. They're coming back in. And by the way, you know I'm building the wall. We're finishing the wall. We got a lot of money. And there'll be some people in the room that don't like this. We're down to 3.7% unemployment, the lowest number in a long time. But think of this. I got all these companies moving in. They need workers. We have to bring people into our country to work in these great plants that are opening up all over the place. This was not necessarily what I was saying during the campaign, because I never knew we would be as successful as we've been. Companies are roaring back into our country, and now we want people to come in. We need workers to come in, but they've got to come in legally, and they've got to come in through merit, merit, merit. We have people in Congress, right now, we have people in Congress that hate our country. And you know that. And we can name every one of them if they want. They hate our country. Sad. It's very sad. When I see some of the things being made, the statements being made, it's very, very sad. And find out, how did they do in their country? Just ask them, how did they do? Did they do well? Were they succeeding? Just ask that question. Somebody would say, oh, that's terrible that he brings that up, but that's okay. I don't mind. I'll bring it up. How did they do in their country? Not so good. Not so good. But we need workers. We have to bring in workers. One other thing, because we have a lot of people here that are important people in terms of votes. We have some senators, we have some congressmen. When a senator tells us that he's a free trader, so am I. I'm a fair trader, I'm a free trader. But when a senator said we can't do tariffs where we make a fortune, or at a minimum, we're able to use this tremendous power that I found. Tremendous, old stuff, nobody even knew it existed. I'm able to use it at a minimum to negotiate great and fair trades. They wouldn't even be talking to us because it's so one-sided. Last year we lost 800, this is for many years, almost $800 billion on trade. It's not sustainable. You can't do that. And now we're making great trade deals. But when some of the senators, good people, I think they're good people, I just don't understand the thinking. So I say India is a very high tariff nation. They charge us a lot. When we send a motorcycle to India, It's 100% tariff. They charge 100%. When India sends a motorcycle to us, we brilliantly charge them nothing. So I want a reciprocal tax, or at least I want to charge a tax. It's called a mirror tax, but it's a reciprocal. Now here's what I don't know. I've had a lot of people, Lindsey Graham, I said, Lindsey, it's not his thing necessarily. It's not the thing that he's most adept at, but he's adept and he's smart. I said, Lindsey, if they charge us 100, I like a reciprocal. They charge us, we charge them. He goes, that makes sense to me. And then he gets on to judiciary and things that frankly he likes and finds very interesting. But he's a smart guy, and he said, I'll never forget. It took me about a minute, which is a long time. I did a bad description. It's so easy. They charge 100, we charge nothing. Now we have reciprocal, so it's 100. But what happens now for those that really think about tariffs and don't like tariffs for whatever reason it might be, and that's okay. What's going to happen is, in many cases, instead of 100 and 100, you're going to have 0 and 0, so you won't have any tariff. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But you have to start working on some of the senators that say, I can't approve this deal. I say, you know what, I want to just charge India, as an example I'm using it, but India is a very high tariff nation. I mean, nobody knows it because nobody knows what they're doing in Washington. But India is a very, very high tariff, and they charge tremendous numbers. So they charge 100, so I say, I'm not going to charge 100, but I'm going to charge 25%. And I hear this turmoil in the Senate because we're charging 25. So I call a couple of the guys up. I say, fellas, listen, they're charging us 100 for the exact same product. I want to charge them 25, and I feel so foolish charging 25 because it should be 100. But I'm doing 25 only because of you. I want to get your support. Sir, that's not free trade. Where do these people come from? Where? Where do they come from? I need your help. I need your help, the voters' help. Where do they come from? So it can only be one of 2 or 3 things. Number one, I know they're very smart people. I know they are. And I even like some of them. But they're smart. So we take that out of the equation. So and I know they don't have evil intentions. And the other thing could be, I guess, maybe, you know, these companies are all owned by people. And these people are very generous. Campaign contributions, they're very, very generous people. Can that be possible? I don't think so. I hope not. Because we're talking about our country. We can't allow a country to charge us 100%, and we get nothing for the same exact product. For one thing, they don't respect us. They think we're stupido. They don't respect us. But let me tell you something. The world respects our country again. They respect it. And America is now booming like never before. Other countries are doing very poorly. Other countries are doing very poorly. And that makes it even harder for us to be successful. Plus, we have a gentleman that likes raising interest rates in the Fed. We have a gentleman that loves quantitative tightening in the Fed. We have a gentleman that likes a very strong dollar in the Fed. So with all of those things, and we want a strong dollar, but let's be reasonable, you understand. With all of that, we're doing great. Can you imagine if we left interest rates where they were? There's no inflation, essentially. There's no inflation. Can you imagine if we left interest rates where they were? If we didn't do quantitative tightening, taking money out of the market? If we didn't do quantitative tightening, and this would lead to a little bit lower dollar, a little bit. I want a strong dollar. But I want a dollar that's going to be great for our country. Not a dollar that's so strong that it is prohibitive for us to be dealing with other nations and taking their business. Since the election, we've created a number that I would have said during the campaign, the fake newssters back there would have said this is crazy. 5.3 million new jobs, including over now 600,000 beautiful, brand new manufacturing jobs that were never going to come back to our country. These are jobs that were never coming back to us. Remember? Not to talk badly about the other administration, but if that theory went forward with crooked Hillary winning the election, instead of being up almost 50% with the stock market, you would have been down 50%. It was heading down. It was going to be a disaster. We have nearly 5 million Americans that have been lifted off of food stamps. Nobody ever thought that was possible. The unemployment rate has reached the lowest in over 51 years, and African American, and you've heard me say this many times, Hispanic American, Asian American unemployment rate are at their all-time historic lows. African-American income has reached an all-time high. So when I'm on the debate stage with one of these maniacs, I mean, trains to Hawaii. How do you get to Europe? We haven't figured that one out yet. We don't use airplanes anymore. You saw what I'm doing in California. They have a fast train. The fast train goes from San Francisco to Los Angeles. It's over budget by hundreds of millions of dollars. So they have a great idea, the new governor, nice guy. He is, nice guy. When I'm with him face to face, nice. When he speaks about me, not so nice, but face to face, he loves me. Called me up, he said, you're a great president, you're doing a great job. He actually did 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. He'll probably deny it, but check the phone records at the White House. Everybody else does. I think they need some forest money because, honestly, the management of the forest is very bad, and it's one of the problems they have. I said, you got to get those forests. We can't keep sending billions and billions and losing hundreds of lives, more importantly. Got to clean it up. It's called management. When a tree falls, you can't let the environmentalists say you can't take that tree out. It becomes like a matchstick, that tree. It hits a flame, it goes up. The leaves, every once in a while, you have to remove the leaves because they are so... A guy smoking a cigarette, he throws it away. He doesn't mean it. The thing catches on fire. We'll lose 400,000 acres and people are killed. You got to have management. But he called me up the other day, recently, let's say 4 weeks ago or so. He said, I just want to tell you, you're a great president, and you're one of the smartest people I've ever met. That's what he said. Now, that's what he said. Will he admit it? No, I doubt it. But that's what he said. And you're doing a great job. And then he did start talking about, in all fairness, additional money for the fire, which is, it's okay. That's okay. We have great talks. I mean, I like him. Gavin Newsom, I like him. Nice guy. But they say things, you know, politicians, they say things to your face, and then you see 2 days later they're giving a news conference. It's like, where did that guy come from? Where did he come from? But everyone in this great country, right now, because of our great new economy, is doing well, except, of course, for the never-Trumpers. But they are on mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. They're hanging in there, a couple of them. I mean, these guys have gotten me wrong. Not only never-Trumpers. You have never-Trumpers, you have certain hardline. They're basically dishonest people, because look, let's face it. Whether you like me or not, if my name is Smith instead of Trump, and if you told them I put in over 100 federal judges, it'll soon be 145 federal judges and 2 Supreme Court, and 17 appellate divisions, that we've got the best economy maybe in our history, that we've got the best employment numbers and unemployment numbers in our history, that we've cut more regulations in 2 years than any president has ever done, whether it's 4, 8, or beyond, that we've taken care of our military with $1.7 billion. Think of what we did. Think of what we did with our military. Think of the numbers that we have for our military. We have numbers, nobody's ever heard of these numbers before. And you know, part of the problem that we have, because I'm a Coast Guarder, and you are all Coast Guarders, but we have to take care of our military. We have to. $700 billion we spent, and that was the first year. And then the second year, $716 billion. Now, I have no choice. I'd like to spend much less. Obama was spending much less, but our military was being depleted. He was fighting in endless wars, they never end. And by the way, as of probably today or tomorrow, we will actually have 100% of the caliphate in Syria. 100%. And we'll leave a small group of guys and gals, but we want to bring our people back home. We want to bring our people back home. It's time. Been in these wars. We were going to be in Syria for 4 months. We ended up 5 years. Just fighting. They just like to fight. We want to fix our country. We want to fix our bridges, our highways, our roads, our schools. We want to fix our country up. It's time. It's time. But I was told by a general who I had to fire, I said, General, how long before we get 100% of the caliphate? He said, sir, 2 years. I said, I can't take it 2 years. And then I flew to Iraq. First time I left the White House, because I stayed in the White House for months and months, because I wanted the Democrats to get back from their vacations from Hawaii and these other. And I figured it would look good if I stayed in the White House so that you people all love me and vote for me, okay? I figured it would look good. So I stayed in the White House. And I'll tell you what, I was there. I told my wife, go to Florida, enjoy your Christmas. I stayed for Thanksgiving. I was in the White House for a long time, months. I had cabin fever in the White House. But if you've got to have cabin fever, that's the place to do it. But I was there, I don't know, for a number of months, through Christmas. I spent my New Year's all by myself. Don't cry. It was me and about 500 men and women outside with machine guns. I never saw so many beautiful-looking machine guns. I'd look at that equipment, I'd say, man, they sit in the trees, they sit on the lawn. I told people, I'm in this massive, people don't know how big the White House is. First of all, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's really, I made a lot of money with luxury. This building, it's $17.99, which of course, when President Xi comes, I say $17.99, like it's old. To him, that's like a brand new house. In China, they go back 8,000 years, so that's like a new residence. But I sat in the White House for months and months, except I took a day off. I flew to a lovely place called Iraq, and I flew at night, and I got there at night, and I said to myself, this is interesting, because they say, sir, all of the lights in the plane, sir, are going off. I say, why? Because we're getting ready to land. We're an hour out. I said, what about the shades? Well, we want it better than that, maybe like it. So we turned the lights on, put the shades down. This is a big 740 Air Force. And we're landing, and I go up and I look. And I've landed. I like to sit with pilots. I respect people that know what they're doing, and these are the best in the world. These are the best in the world. And the pilot says, sir, we're landing in approximately 1.5 minutes. I say, but there's no runway. No, sir, the runway's right up there, sir. I say, I don't see it. I have pretty good vision. At least for my age, I have. I guess for my age, I have great vision, but I don't have vision like a 35-year-old captain. He said, no, it's right up there. I said, I'm sorry, Captain. How about this? Should we lift off and try to get Captain? There's no runway. Anyway, no, he said, right up there. Now we land. There's practically no lights. These are little pin spots. And I said, think of this. We spent $7 trillion in the Middle East. And we can't land a plane with the lights on. 20 years later. How bad is it? No, seriously, how bad? How bad is it? $7 trillion and we have to fly in with no lights. But I met some incredible people. I met some incredible people. Generals. One of them came from Syria, the operation in Syria. And I was upset with my generals because they weren't getting it finished. I want the job done. I want to bring our people back home. Not fair. And this is why I flew. So I met generals I didn't know. General 1, General 2, General 3. I mean, these generals, there's no person in Hollywood that could play the role. These guys are like perfect people. I said, what's your name? Sir, my name is Raisin. What the hell kind of a name? I said, Raisin, like the fruit? He goes, yes, sir, Raisin. What's your last name? Kane. Raisin Kane. I said, Raisin Kane. I just made him a big star. Just like I did with Menace when I said, we're going to give you a new nickname, because Chaos is not a good nickname. So we changed his name. Called him Mad Dog. But it wasn't working too well. Mad Dog wasn't working too well. So what happened is I flew to Iraq. I wanted to meet the people on the site, because I learn more sometimes from soldiers, what's going on, than I do from generals. I do. I hate to say it. I tell that to the general. But I didn't have to go there. I didn't have to go there. Because I meet, and I land in this airport, the most incredible thing. We must have spent $3 billion building it. It's one of the reasons I don't want to leave Iraq so fast. I said, well, how do we leave this thing? So I have Raisin Kane, 3 other generals, colonels, sergeants, and I said, bring the cameras, I'm going to make a movie. This is the most incredible thing. And I said to the generals, listen, we got to get out. I want to know, why is it going to take 2 years to knock off 2 or 3 or 4%, which is what we had left? It won't, sir. I said, tell me why it won't. It won't, sir. If we attack them in a different manner, we can do it much faster. Okay, General Raisin Kane, how fast can... Sir, we can have it totally finished in 1 week. I said, 1 week? I was told 2 years. 1 week? That's right, sir. We're only hitting them from a temporary base in Syria. But if you gave us permission, we could hit them from the back, from the side, from all over, from the base that you're right on right now, sir. They won't know what the hell hit them. They won't know what the hell hit them, sir. And I said, why didn't my other generals tell me that? Why didn't they tell me that? I said, did you tell them that? Not our place to say it, sir. They come in from Washington, sir. We have to take orders. You're the first one to ask us our opinion. True. So I went back and I said, I'm going to get back to you soon, Raisin. I think you're great. I like you, Raisin Kane. But I did say, I said, well, hey, listen, we're in Iraq. Isn't that very far away from... I was here in a very short time, sir. I flew right in. Of course, he's taking a plane that goes 2,000 miles an hour. But incredible. What you learn from being on the site. My father was a builder. He always used to say, nobody ever got rich by sitting behind their desk. He'd say, you gotta be on this site, you gotta be with the contractors, you gotta see if they're ripping you off. You gotta collect every nail that's dropped. Every piece of wood, you can sell it. You gotta be on the site. You gotta see while they're building, while they're under construction, is that wall straight or if it's crooked? And you have to fix it before they build it, not after they build it when you rip everything down. You don't get rich by sitting behind the desk, so I didn't want to do that. And I'm in the White House and I was lonely. I said, let's go to Iraq. And I had a hell of a meeting in Iraq. And I'll tell you, those generals, not just Raisin K, General K, those generals were great. They were great. They knew their stuff. They were gung-ho. And it is true. I mean, you talk central casting, these guys, you couldn't, I mean, it's incredible. They had a master sergeant there. I could take him right now, bring him to Hollywood, make a military movie, and he's the star of the movie. That happened once before, you know. That did happen. Remember? They brought a man in, a sergeant, a drill sergeant, to teach some actor how to be a drill sergeant. The drill sergeant was so incredible that he ended up starring in the movie, and he should have gotten the Academy Award, by the way. But that's because Hollywood discriminates against our people. You know the movie I'm talking about, right? What was that movie? You know the movie. But while we're making great strides, and our country is doing as well, and maybe in many ways better than it's ever done before, Democrat lawmakers are now embracing socialism. They want to replace individual rights with total government domination. Just this week, more than 100 Democrats in Congress signed up for a socialist takeover of American health care. Their radical government-run plan, if you call it that, would lead to colossal tax increases like you've never seen before, and take away private coverage from over 180 million Americans. And we have some great private coverage, and we've initiated some incredible plans like the new cooperative plan, where you get better insurance than Obamacare for a fraction of the cost. But perhaps nothing is more extreme than the Democrats' plan to completely take over American energy and completely destroy America's economy through their new $100 trillion Green New Deal. Under the Green New Deal, which somebody described as a high school term paper written by a poor student. Who would believe it? It's so bad, but I'll be honest with you folks. I said, you know, Saturday morning, I said, Matt, should we do a little more, like, spend time? He said, yeah, would you do that? By the way, everybody okay? Yeah. I haven't seen anything. I know one thing. If Mark Levin gets up and leaves, I'll finish very quickly, because then but I haven't seen anyone leaving. Nobody's left. I watch those doors, because a lot of times, well, one time the press said, people left. Yeah, you know where they went to? The bathroom, and then they came. They showed 2 empty seats in a stadium of 19,000. They showed 2 empty seats. The people left right in front of me. And I said, oh man, maybe this isn't a good job I'm doing. Then they came back. They went to the bathroom. And a certain fake news deal showed a picture on the front page of these 2 empty seats. They said, Trump had empty seats. We never have empty seats. The Green New Deal would completely abolish the American oil, natural gas, coal, and nuclear power industries, of which we're now the leader in the world. We're the biggest now in the world because of moves that have happened over the last 2 years, by the way. And we're trying to speed up pipelines in Texas, which would have taken 15 years. We think we're almost very close to getting them approved. When that happens, we'll go probably another 30 to 40%. We need pipeline approval. We're going to have it very quickly. It would have taken, it was going to be a 14 to 15 year process. We should have it done. We'll pick up 30 to 40%. Their plan would remove every gas-powered car from American roads. Oh, that's not so bad. They want you to have one car instead of two. And it should be electric. Okay? So tell people no more cars. No more cars. I think the auto industry is not going to do too well under this plan. What do you think, Meadows? How's this? Will the auto industry be good? I don't think so. It's not looking good. I think maybe you're going to see some bad stock prices if that passes. It would end air travel. But you'll get on a train. Don't worry about it. You just have to cross up about 95% of the world. And it would force the destruction or renovation of virtually every existing structure in the United States. New York City would have to rip down buildings and rebuild them again. I don't think so. This is the craziest plan. And yet I see senators that are there for 20 years. White hair. See, I don't have white hair. I don't have white hair. Now I see these white hairs, long-time senators, standing behind this young woman. And she's ranting and raving like a lunatic. And these senators, yes, I agree with this. Yes, I agree. The crazy female senator from the state of Ohio. The state of Hawaii, right? She's like a crazy person. What she said about men is so bad. What she said about men is so bad. But she's standing in the hallway. And she didn't know too much about the plan because she's, she can't understand that plan. Which probably makes her smart, actually. Now, this is the senator from Hawaii. And they're saying to her, what do you think? Well, I don't know how people are going to get to Hawaii, but I'm in favor of the plan. I don't get it. I don't get it. So she's in favor of the plan, but you won't be able to get to it. Well, we can take votes, I guess. We'll go back to votes. This is the new Democrat platform for the, and I don't want to talk them out of it. I swear I don't. This is a killer. I gotta get off this subject. I want them to embrace this plan. I want them to go and sell this plan. I just want to be the Republican that runs against them tonight. Delivered 1 year from now, not now, damn it. Because they're going to grit together, they're going to say, this guy's really laying for us. I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year. Because I've destroyed her political career and now I won't get a chance to run against her and I would have loved that. We got to, I don't want to knock out all of the good stuff and end up with somebody that's actually got talent. That would be So I do like the Green New Deal. I respect it greatly. It should be part of the dialogue of the next election. And I think it has tremendous promise and tremendous potential for the future of our country. Socialism is not about the environment. It's not about justice. It's not about virtue. Socialism is about only one thing. It's called power for the ruling class. That's what it is. Look at what's happening in Venezuela and so many other places. All of us are here today because we know that the future does not belong to those who believe in socialism. And I heard yesterday a great speech from our Vice President, Mike Pence, talking about this very subject and talking about it beautifully. The future belongs to those who believe in freedom. I have said it before and I'll say it again. America will never be a socialist country. Young Americans, I love young Americans. Speaking of young Americans, Candace, stand up. Candace is getting married. You've been incredible, thank you. Your whole group has been great. You're getting married. Seems like a nice guy to me. Congratulations, you've been so great. Thank you very much, Candace. And Charlie, what a job you're doing. Where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? Where is Charlie? Because he has done an incredible job. Thank you very much. But young Americans like you are leading the revival of American liberty, sovereignty, and self-determination in the face of left-wing intolerance, the anger, the unbelievable anger. I see it every day. Fortunately for you, it's mostly pointed at me. You have the courage to speak the truth, to do what is right, and to fight for what you believe, and keep doing it. We reject oppressive speech codes, censorship, political correctness, and every other attempt by the hard left to stop people from challenging ridiculous and dangerous ideas. These ideas are dangerous. Instead, we believe in free speech, including online and including on campus. And by the way, there's a young gentleman with us today. There's a young gentleman. I turned on my television the other day, and I saw somebody that was violently punched in the face. Violently punched. And I said, that's disgusting. By a bully, I'd like to do a lot of things, but of course we would never do that. Because if I ever said violence, they would say, Donald Trump attacked. No, no, no. Just for the media, I'm sure he's a lovely young man. Just had a little temper. I've been there before with those people. I don't want to do it again. So, the man's name is Hayden Williams. Where's Hayden? Where is he? Where is he? Hayden, come up here, please.
So, at the Leadership Institute, we're committed to making campuses great again. I thank so much for bringing me up here to let me speak. It's great that I'm being recognized, but there's so many conservative students across the country who are facing discrimination, harassment, and worse if they dare to speak up on campus. So I'm glad that we could bring this to the forefront. And I'd just like to say, if these socialist progressives had their way, they would put our Constitution through the paper shredder in a heartbeat. So it's as important now than ever to work at Leadership Institute and campus reform, exposing these liberal abuses to the public. It's as important now as ever. And these students do it because they have a love for our nation and freedom and frankly a love for you, Mr. President. So if you keep defending us, we'll keep defending you. Thank you.
Call him, but I don't have to now. I said, but here's the one thing. I learned a number of things. First of all, he can take a punch. Muhammad Ali can take a punch. He can take a punch. But you weren't going to go down no matter how. That was a hell of a hard punch. He was a strong guy. But you know what? You've got yourself a great lawyer. I know your lawyer. She is a great lawyer. Just tell her to do me a favor. Sue him, but he's probably got nothing. But sue him forever. But sue the college, the university. Ladies and gentlemen, he took a hard punch in the face for all of us. Remember that. He took a punch for all of us. And we can never allow that to happen. And here is, in closing with him, here's the good news. He is going to be a very wealthy young man. That's all. Today I'm proud to announce that I will be very soon signing an executive order requiring colleges and universities to support free speech. They've got to allow people like Hayden and many other great young people and old people to speak. Free speech. And if they don't, it will be very costly. That will be signed very soon. Every day we're restoring common sense and the timeless values that unite us all. We believe in the Constitution and the rule of law. We believe in the First Amendment right, and we believe in religious liberty. And we believe strongly in the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms. Which is under siege, folks. They have a lot of plans. It's under siege. Be careful. But I'll protect you. I promise you. Because it all has to come through my office. And we hopefully are going to be here for 6 more years. We believe in the American dream, not in the socialist nightmare. And we believe in the words of our national motto, in God we trust. Every day of my presidency will defend American families. We will defend America's workers, our great, great, cherished workers, that now we're taking care of. They're not losing their jobs. We're creating those jobs. We're not letting those companies destroy their lives anymore. We will defend the American way of life, and we will always defend America's borders, because without borders, as I've said many times before, we don't have a country. The lawless chaos on our southern border provides a lucrative cash flow to some of the most dangerous criminal organizations on the planet. Deadly cartels constantly, daily, hourly violate our borders to flood our cities with drugs that kill thousands and thousands of our citizens violently. What are these people talking about when they talk about the border? Keep it open. Keep what open? Have you been there? Have you seen? I just got back. I've been there many times. I see what's happening. I don't like it. But I have to tell you, our Border Patrol, our ICE agents, our law enforcement, the job they do, and they don't have the backup of a wall in many cases. The job they do is incredible. These ruthless cartels terrorize innocent communities on both sides of the wall and spread instability throughout our hemisphere. When I was there 2 weeks ago, 26 people were killed. Very close to where I was, on the Rio Grande. Sounds nice, right? The Rio Grande. Rough stuff. 26 people were killed, and they were buried right near where I was standing. And the paper doesn't write about it, the news doesn't write about it. In the last 2 years alone, ICE officers made 266,000 arrests. Think of what that means. Think of that. Arrests. I'm not talking about people coming in. I'm talking, they went out and arrested 266,000 people who have criminal records, and in some cases for murder. Who the hell wants to do that? Thank God they're doing it, because I don't want to do it. It's dangerous, it's hard, but they love our country. And they're tough people, but they love our country. Including those charged or convicted of approximately 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, 25,000 burglaries, 4,000 kidnappings, and 4,000 violent murders. These are people that ICE is going in and getting, and either putting in jail or ideally bringing them back to other countries and letting them put in jail, because we don't want them. We don't want to have to pay for them for 50 years. You want them to pay a price, but we don't want to have to pay for them for 50 years. And all the nonsense you hear about the people that come in illegally are far better than the people we have. It's not true, folks. It's false. It's false propaganda. One recent study from FAIR, F-A-I-R, found that illegal aliens are incarcerated at 3 times the rate of legal residents. Those are the numbers. And if you look at prison population in federal prisons, these federal prisons the number is staggering. The number of illegals, far, far, far greater than any proportion of our population. But you don't hear that. You hear like these people are the greatest people in the world. Just ask the angel moms, how good are they? Those great angel moms who are treated so badly, so badly. Incredible people. But the simple reality is that every crime committed by an illegal immigrant is a crime that should never have happened in the first place. The Border crisis is also a heartbreaking humanitarian tragedy. Vicious coyotes, smugglers, and human traffickers prey upon innocent women and children. 1 in 3 women is sexually assaulted on the dangerous journey north. When I ran for president, my first speech, I mentioned the word rape. The press went after me. I couldn't believe it. I said, will it be like this always? The answer was yes. It even got worse. From day one, I mentioned the word rape. If you look at that speech, that was so innocent compared to what's really happening. That was a very innocent speech compared to the real facts. Illegal immigration is not compassionate. It's inhumane, unjust, and cruel. The media fights me on this, but I say it. Mothers who love their daughters, when the daughters are getting ready to make that 2,000-mile trek up through Mexico, and frankly, I wish Mexico would stop them at their northern border. I wish Mexico would stop them. Because, you know, they have a border. They call it their southern border. It's 2,000 miles down from our southern border. I wish Mexico would stop them. But they have their own difficulties, frankly. I understand that. We're working along well with them. And they are doing a lot of things to help us with asylum and other elements of what we're doing. But mothers who love their daughters give them massive amounts of birth control pills because they know their daughters are going to be raped on the way up to our southern border. Think of that. True story. Told to me by the Border Patrol. So true and so sad. Think of how evil that is. Think of how bad it is. Those caravans. You look at those caravans, and some are phenomenal people. But in those caravans, you have stone-cold killers. You had the interview done by some innocent person who I think is actually back there now. And what is it that you want asylum for? Why are you coming to America? Murder. She goes, what? Murder. I mean, what's going on is incredible. And when those caravans are formed, do you think those countries that we used to give a lot of money to, I've got to way back. Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. Do you think they're giving us, as we say, their best and their finest? Oh, let's send our best people up to America. Let's have our best people go in the caravan so we can give America our greatest people. No, 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 no. They give us some very bad people. People with big, long crime records. People with tremendous violence in their past. Murderers, killers, drug dealers, human traffickers. They want to keep their good people because they're smart. It's so sad to see how stupid we've been. Border Patrol recently reported apprehending 7,000 unlawful migrants in a single week on just one part of the Texas border a couple of weeks ago. Our immigration system is stretched far beyond the breaking point. To confront this national security crisis, last month I declared a national emergency. A national emergency. And when I see these people, and they're good people, some senators, most, I tell you, the House has been fantastic. The House, the backing we've had from the House has really been, I'm talking about in the last short period of time, there's a lot of spirit in the House. And I think in the Senate too, but we're going to have to see because we have a vote coming up. And a lot of people talk about precedent. Precedent. That if we do this, the Democrats will use national emergency powers for something that we don't want. They're going to do that anyway, folks. The best way to stop that is to make sure that I win the election. That's the best way. We'll do it anyway. Lots of good people, they're friends of mine. We're very concerned with setting precedent. That's precedent, not president. Precedent. We're very concerned about setting precedent. I'm very concerned with having murderers and drug traffickers and drugs and drug cartels pouring into our country. That's what I'm concerned about. And the Democrats, they're going to do whatever they do if they get into power, and it won't have a damn thing to do with whether or not we approve our national emergency. Because let me tell you, they don't like it when I say it, but we are being invaded. We're being invaded by drugs, by people, by criminals, and we have to stop it. And we want people to come in, as I said before, but they have to come in legally and with merit. Previous presidents have used their national emergency power to promote democratic elections in Belarus, to ensure political stability in Burundi, and to defend the sovereignty of Lebanon. And you know what? That's okay. Lebanon, it's good, fine. Use it. But we need it right here in our country. We have to use it for our country. Many emergency declarations have been used to protect people in faraway nations and distant lands. Now we are protecting, finally, our people, you, our people. And we are proudly standing with the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement. Illegal immigration is also deeply unfair to American workers and taxpayers, including millions and millions of hard-working legal immigrants. If you care about helping immigrants and care about their success, if you care about reducing poverty and raising living standards, then you must support a safe, strong, and very, very secure border. We need an immigration policy that helps all Americans thrive, flourish, prosper. We need an immigration policy that's going to be great for our corporations and our great companies. We need an immigration policy where people coming into our country can love our country and love our fellow citizens. And this includes shutting down sanctuary cities. And we want to end catch and release. We catch them, we realize they're a criminal, and we have to release them. Think of this. They come onto our land, they put 1 foot on our land. We now have to take them through a massive court trial. Who does this? Other countries say, get the hell out of here. We have to take them through court. So we catch them. We talk to them. If they're criminals, or if they're not, we release them. We say, come back for a hearing in front of a judge. You know how many judges you need to do this? We have 900,000 people backlogged. That's the good news. The bad news, nobody shows up. 3% of the people come back for a trial. It's insane. Not my fault, I inherited this mess, but we're fixing it. We have to end chain migration, and we have to cancel the visa lottery. Every American, no matter where they're born, will benefit from the creation of a lawful immigration system. It is such, you talk about an emergency. our immigration system is so broken, folks. It's so broken. It's so sad to see. It's incompetent. It's laughed at all over the world. We have people pouring in from not just the southern border in Mexico, from China. They have a baby on our land. The baby becomes a citizen. Welcome to the United States for hopefully 90 years. Okay? And then the parents come in with the baby because the baby's a citizen. This is like crazy. They used to call it anchor babies, but they don't use that term anymore because it doesn't sound nice. Our laws are so crazy, but one by one, we're finding ways. You know, they call them loopholes. A lot of our laws, loopholes. Well, I'm finding loopholes to get around the loophole. Because our Congress cannot. They cannot. They just can't. The Democrats in Congress don't want to touch any of it. Visa lottery. That's where they put in the names. They put it in a lottery. And you pick, oh, here's a wonderful person, wonderful. You know, he killed 4 people. Here's a wonderful person. And then they get in and we say, see, that person just came into our country. He just robbed a store and killed somebody. How is that possible? Because they send us the people they don't want. Biggest form of subsidy we give to other nations. Immigration systems that prioritize the admission of those who can support themselves financially and contribute. We want people that can help themselves, that can support themselves. We have people coming in. We support them from the day they come in till the day they die. We can't do that as a country. We can't afford to do that as a country. Sadly, on immigration and so many other issues, Democrat lawmakers have totally abandoned the American mainstream. But that's going to be good for us in 2020. They're embracing open borders, socialism, and extreme late-term abortion. Weeks ago, lawmakers in New York cheered as they passed legislation to allow babies to be ripped from the womb of their mother, right up to the very moment of death. Then, in an act and a statement, the likes of which I don't think I've ever heard. In Virginia, the governor, a Democrat, stated that he would allow babies to be born outside. He would wrap them. He would take care of them. And then he'll talk to the mother and the father as to what to be done. And if they didn't want the child, who is now outside of the womb, long outside of the womb, they will execute the baby after birth. They will execute the baby after birth. And that's one many people have never even heard of or thought about. This is a radical agenda by the Democrats. And when you put something up, as was just put up before the Senate, everybody on the Democrat side votes for it. By the way, I have to say one thing. They're lousy politicians, and they have lousy policy. They have policy I could never sell if I wanted to. But, big but, they always stick together, and the Republicans don't. Remember that. Remember that. They always stick together. They vote in blocks. They have 47. We had a tremendous victory. We were given no credit. I can't go and campaign for all of the people in the House. Too many. And guys like Meadows wins by so many points, he doesn't need any help. He doesn't need help. Say, Mark, you need any help? No, I'm okay. He'll win by 30, 35. They're okay. These guys do. You know the funny thing? The ones that love Trump, the ones that are really the Trumpers, like Meadows, Jordan, Gates, so many of them. I don't want to, I could just name them so many. They're the ones that win without, I mean, it's like they don't even have an election. It's the ones that sort of, they're a little shy about embracing what we're all about. They get clobbered. They get clobbered. Take a look. Those are the ones that get clobbered. But the good news is they're all starting to find that out. Just this week, Senate Democrats opposed legislation to prevent the killing of newborn infant children who survive abortions. Virtually every Democrat voted against protecting these precious babies. Everyone, they voted in groups. And we did have that great victory. We went from 51 and 2 that we didn't like got out. They said they retired. They didn't retire. They were retired. They said these 2 senators have decided to retire. No, they retired because they had like very little support, like how about 5% and 8%. No, we did great. We had 53. We picked up in the Senate. They were going to win the Senate, remember? And I'll tell you, folks, I worked hard. I did 32 big, fat rallies. And those rallies brought us to a tremendous Senate victory so that we can continue onward with our judges and our court. And the fake news back there, they love to say Donald Trump suffered a big defeat. First of all, we won the Senate, which frankly, judges never, hate to say it, in all due respect, for us, the Senate, far more important. I really worked hard. But think of it, we won the Senate, and we had this tremendous victory. We get no credit at all. Wait till you see what happens. They say, Donald Trump suffered a humiliating defeat. I said, I wasn't running. And one of the commentators, and I appreciate, on one of the shows where they were saying how I suffered a defeat, this commentator said, excuse me, he didn't run. Not all our candidates were exactly great, let's face it. You can only do so much. But wait till you see what's happening when I do run. And what they don't say is, Governor of Ohio, great guy, Mike was down 6, he won by 7. With 1 day, right? He was down by 6. 1 day into the election. I went out, I campaigned, worked hard, made a speech. Jim Jordan was there. Everybody was there. It was a fantastic crowd, like this, and all the people in the other ballrooms that are waiting for it. And he ended up winning. He was down by 6. He won by 7. 1 day. Then we have Georgia, the governor of Georgia. Great guy. Where's Georgia? Great guy. He was losing in the primary by 10. I got a call from David Perdue and Sonny Perdue, 2 great guys. Could you endorse him? I said, let me check. And I checked him. He was a Trumper before Trump was a Trumper. And I said, I love this guy. He's down by 10. He won by 40. You believe that? I endorsed him, Mark. He won by 40. Then he had a tough race against the new star of the Democrat Party. Not Democratic. It's Democrat. We have to do it. It sounds prettier when we use Democratic. I hate to say in speech, the Democrat Party, because it doesn't sound good. But that's all the more reason I use it. They should change it because it sounds much better. Rhetorically, it's much better. But then he had an election against their star, who followed me after the State of the Union address. I didn't think she was great. But she's their star. And who showed up? Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, and President Obama. And they campaigned for her, and they worked so hard. And all our man had was Trump. And we kicked their ass. Where 55,000 people showed up to the airport. It was one hangar. They had 3 other hangars that were full. They went so far back. The problem was they gave the press, like these guys, they gave the press too good a location because the people behind them couldn't see properly. They were so angry. But we had 55,000 people show up. I said, you're going to win the election. You won the election. You won it fairly easily against their star. And now David Perdue is going to win for senator in 2020. And then we had Florida and many others. And we have a candidate, Ron DeSantis, a friend of many of us in this room, but nobody knew he was running. He was running against in the primary somebody that was easily going to win. He was scheduled to be the next governor of Florida. But Ron's been great to me on the witch hunt. He's been a defender of me against these phony charges of Russia. Russia. My wife said, "You never spoke to anybody from Russia, darling." I said, "That's right." But Ron DeSantis, I like people that defend me. You know, when people defend me, I defend them. So he came. That's why I like Mark. That's why I like Mark a little bit. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough. But I like him. I love him. But then we have Florida. So Ron DeSantis is at 3. 3! He calls up, "Sir, can I have your endorsement?" I said, "Ron, you're at 3. Your opponent is, I guess, agriculture, commissioner, has $22 million in the bank. His poll numbers are very good. He's up in the 20s or 30s. I said, "Ron, don't make me do this, Ron." "Sir, I can win." "All right, Ron, here we go." Because I know if he loses, which almost never happens when I endorse something. Almost never. Only one time, that was because it was done in the middle of the day of the election. Nobody knew I did it. They got home, they said, "I didn't know Trump endorsed him." But we rarely lose. But I said, "Ron, don't do it." I said, "All right, Ron, I'll do it." He went from 3 to 60. To 60. And then he ran against a guy who had unbelievable support. He had every celebrity going to Florida. He had money all over the place. And Ron was in there pitching, and I was in there pitching with him. And we now have a great governor in the state of Florida. And I could mention many others, other governors, many other states, but I'm not going to bore you with it. And I really think that it's incredible what we did in the midterms. I think it's incredible. Governor of Florida, governor of Ohio. Remember, you can't win unless you win the state of Ohio. We got the governor of Ohio, and he's great. Mike, we love you, Mike. As we defend American values at home, we are also defending American security abroad. We have secured all sorts of funding, all sorts of record everything, and we will never forget our military. We will never forget our veterans. We are taking care of our veterans like they've never been taken care of before. We just got them choice, so now they can go see a doctor. Now they can go and see a doctor instead of waiting online for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we got them accountability. You couldn't fire anybody in the VA. You had sadists. You had people that took advantage of our veterans. They've hit them. They were sadists. They were sick people. You couldn't fire them. You had thieves that were stealing, openly stealing. You couldn't fire them. I got a bill passed. VA accountability. Now you look at the guy, you say, "Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out." Nobody thought we could get it for 40 years. They tried to get it. For 40 years they tried to get it. They couldn't get it. And VA choice, they thought for many, many decades they've been trying to get VA choice. You could get it. Now instead of waiting online for 2 days, 9 days, 3 weeks, people were dying. People that weren't very sick would be dead by the time they saw a doctor 6 weeks later. Now, these great veterans, if there's a big wait, they go outside, they go to a local doctor, we pay the bills, they get better, everybody's happy, and we actually save a lot of money, if you can believe it. And I got that approved productive meetings with Chairman Kim Jong-un. Very productive. We get along. We've developed a good relationship, very good, and made great historic progress. And I do get a kick out of all these people in previous administrations. Donald Trump should not, under any circumstances, be doing this or that. You know, they tell me how to negotiate. These guys died. One administration gave billions of dollars to him and got nothing. And we haven't given him anything yet. I look forward to maybe doing something at some point. But I know one thing I'm going to get other countries to give. Maybe not us, but I'm going to get other countries to give. And if it all works, if it all works. But I had to walk. Because every once in a while you have to walk. Because the deal wasn't a deal that was acceptable to me. I don't like these deals that politicians make. They make a deal just for the sake of doing it. I don't want to do that. I want to make a deal that either works or let's not make it. But the one thing we have is we have no testing, no missiles going up, no rockets going up, no nuclear testing. We got our great people back. We got our great, great people. And that includes our beautiful, beautiful Otto. Otto Warmbier, whose parents I've gotten to know, who's incredible. And I'm in such a horrible position because in one way, I have to negotiate. In the other way, I love Mr. and Mrs. Warmbier, and I love Otto. And it's a very, very delicate balance. He was a special young man, and to see what happened was so bad, was so bad. And a lot of what I do with respect to North Korea and any success that we hopefully have, and we've had a lot, we're given no credit. They don't remember that in the last days of the Obama administration, rockets were flying all over the place, nuclear testing was going on, mountains were being, these are big mountains, they were being shoved over 3-4 inches. People thought it was massive earthquakes, and they found out, no, that was nuclear weapons, nuclear testing. So much. We're getting the remains back of a lot of our soldiers from many, many years ago. Mike Pence was in Hawaii. It was one of the most beautiful ceremonies. We made a lot of progress, and we'll continue to make progress. And I really think what we're doing there is very important. But we actually had a walk, but I think we had a very good meeting. In fact, when I came home, they put out a statement that actually they were willing to do much less on the sanction front. But you see, that's not what happened there. So already I think we're negotiating. And I'll tell you this, North Korea has an incredible, brilliant economic future if they make a deal. But they don't have any economic future if they have nuclear weapons. It's really a bad thing for them. So we'll see how it all goes, but I think it's going well. I think we learned a lot over the last couple of days. And again, the relationship seems to be very, very strong. And that's an important thing, especially when we're dealing with this kind of a situation. For years you watched as your leaders apologize for America. You saw that? We would like to apologize. No, I'm not apologizing. Now you have a president who is standing up for America. After decades of building up foreign nations, we are finally building up our nation. And we are doing it with American hands, American grit, and with beautiful, beautiful American steel. That our ancestors fought to secure with all of their heart, might, and soul. Now more than ever, we need the proud men and women of CPAC. And I want to thank everybody here because it is incredible. Your organization is incredible. Matt, Mercedes, incredible. You're energized, you mobilize, and you're engaged. We need your voice. We need your patriotism. We need your commitment. We need your incredible spirit. On the 4th of July, we are having in Washington, D.C., a great tribute to America. I hope you can all come. 4th of July, keep it open. We want to bring millions of people into the city, and we want people to come who love our country. Those are the people we want. The 4th of July. A salute to America. Now is the time to embrace the promise of our history. Now is the time to defend our American legacy. And now is the time to seize our glorious destiny. And by the way, I'm watching those doors now. One person's left, and I've been up here a while. I said, Matt, is that okay? He said, I love it, don't leave. But not one person. So if you hear tomorrow when they read, people left, nobody left early. There hasn't been one person listening. But when you read it, you just say fake news. This magnificent nation will always be the home of those who cherish life, who love liberty, and who defend the sacred rights given to us by Almighty God. Together we are one people, one family, and one nation, forever united behind one great American flag. Thank you to everybody in this room and to all of the other rooms all over the campus and all over the country. We're hooked in all over the country. Thank you very much. I want to thank CPAC. What a job they've done. What a job Matt Schlapp and his family have done in such a short period of time in bringing this to a level like it's never been before. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're live from our CPAC stage at Pepperdine University with Dr. Lonnie Chen of Stanford University, Representative Tom McClintock, and John Wood of Better Angels USA, and your moderator from Pepperdine University School of Public Policy, Dean Pete Peterson. University School of Public Policy, Dean Pete Peterson.
Hello, CPAC, and welcome to Malibu, California. I'm Pete Peterson, Dean here at the School of Public Policy, and it is a great honor to welcome you from around the world and back in D.C., right here to Southern California, to America's most beautiful college campus. Before we get started with our amazing panel, I just wanted to say, in reference to one of the elements of the president's speech, and I hope Hayden Williams is listening and there in the auditorium in Washington, D.C. I've watched the video of what happened to you many, many times over this last week. And I think what you need are 2 years here in Malibu, California to recover. And so if you're listening, as the dean, I can do this. I want to offer you a scholarship to enroll here at the Graduate School of Public Policy. We have a terrific panel here. I know for many of you on the live stream, you may wonder if there are any conservatives here in California, but this is still Reagan country. To my left, I'm honored to be joined by Congressman Tom McClintock, a real constitutional conservative who represents California's 4th District. To his left, Dr. Lonnie Chen, the Steffi Research Fellow at the Hoover Institution, one of America's great conservative think tanks. Also, he was the policy advisor recently to the National Republican Senatorial Committee. And to his left, the great John Wood Jr., Director of Media Development for Better Angels, and also a supporter and ran against Maxine Waters in the 2014 election, a supporter of the Republican Party here in LA County. I want to begin with you, Congressman. A lot of people wonder, hey, this used to be Reagan country. We had just right over the hill here, it can't be more than 15 miles away, the great Reagan Library. And really for many years, Republicans were in power here in California. That has all changed over the last 10 or 15 years. And I just wanted to get your sense as someone who not only serves in Congress, but before that served in the state legislature, why you think there's been this change, and what lessons can Republicans and conservatives around the country take?
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, but we started down the road of socialism, and now we're finding out that it doesn't work any better in California than everywhere else in the world that's been trouble. You know, my folks came here 50 years ago now, more than 50 years ago. This was truly a land of opportunity. Everybody was moving to California. We had low taxes. Our freeways were the envy of the world. We had the finest public school system in the country, one of the finest university systems in the world. We were producing water and power so cheaply that many communities didn't bother to measure the stuff. And over the years, the left took control of our policy, and